Hi, welcome to the new moon transmission. I am going to map out the next cycle for us in 4 parts from week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, as the lunar cycle goes. So we have arrived to the gateway of the new moon in Taurus. And there is potency, and I'm sure you're feeling it. What's going on with this new moon is that the sun and moon have come together, creating the new moon portal. Energetically, it is a new beginning, as well as holding a very powerful energy of endings, of the culmination that we have just moved through in the last few days of the dark moon. So we've completed an entire cycle. We've completed an entire chapter of our own lives, from the building, creating the first seeding that happened about a month ago, the impulse, the instinct, the intention to make plans, to strive towards, to set intentions, to go forth, to go out, to create things. And so we moved through, and what came of it, what came through, right? So in the garden of our own lives, what did we create? What did we nourish? What seeds did we plant? How well did it go? And that is the journey that we just came through. And over the past 2 weeks of the waning cycle, we got to see from the full moon fruition, from the full moon essence, where things come into the light, things come into awareness. We get to see what comes of the seeds we plant, right? And so this is a cyclical process that is essentially always underway in one way or another, whether we're looking at or whether we're aligning and coming into more awareness with the lunar cycle, or maybe a Saturn cycle or a Uranus cycle. We're always in cycles. And so there will always simultaneously, like, layered qualities going on of variations of different cycles, right? Simultaneously, variations of cycles always playing out in our life. So we're always somewhere, and we're actually always in a variation of somewhere of the variety of cycles that we're moving through, right? So as astrologers, we track the different cycles. And so when we speak of the lunar cycle, we have the month journey. We have the new moon, then we have the first quarter moon, then the full moon, then the last quarter moon, then the dark moon, and then we begin again. But let's say you're tracking your Saturn cycle. Those of you who are in a Saturn return, the first Saturn return or the second Saturn return right before 60. So then that is a return. That's like a new moon. That's the culmination, the end of a cycle, the returning and the beginning and the reset of a new cycle. And in Saturn's case, instead of the moon being 1 month cycle, Saturn is a almost 30-year cycle. However, what's so powerful and what's so potent in astrology is the aspects, how planets come into relationship with each other as they're moving through the cosmos, right? And we are part of the experience, and we feel this effect. There's a universal effect that we all experience. And so I'm going to map this out this month for us, where we are, and particularly from the shamanic perspective of understanding which gateway are we moving through and when. And so when you learn to look at it in this way and understand that we're actually moving through portals of energy, and whether we're aware of it or not, it's still happening, right? The moon is still coming into alignment with the sun in different aspects of an alignment, whether it's a coming together in a conjunction and creating a new phase experience, moving into a square, moving into an opposition, moving into a last quarter square, returning, coming into a balsamic closing conjunction. Like, there's a different vibe, there's a different frequency. And that's why we can look at them like and experience them as portals that we move through. And so the language of understanding that we're moving through variations of gateways all the time. And when you track them, when you understand the astrology, then you can just have, the heads up, the foresight, the understanding of what's in the air, what is the energy, and how can I work with it? That's really the next level of when you understand your chart and you see where you are in relationship to the cosmos, where you are in relationship to the bigger universal experience that we're all moving through, then you get to play in the field of the cosmic dance, right? And so that's what's powerful, and that's what's fun about the experience that we get to have using astrology. And so we are in powerful times, right? We are in rather intense times, and we all know this. We have all come through now. We have all incarnated at this particular time in life, in history, to be a part of the epic and extreme experience that consciousness has come to, right? So ultimately, life is a powerful experience. And when we look back in history, it's not that it ever hasn't been quite intense to be human and to be alive and go through the journey. And, we can look back. We all understand that there's eras and there's ages and there's epochs that are defined by qualities and experiences and different degrees of revolutions and revolutionary energies coming through for periods of time, right? And we are in one of those 100%. And so we are on a global level, on a consciousness level, we all know that everybody is experiencing the intensity and the extreme nature of reality to some degree or another. And then we each all have our individual worlds, our individual lives that are playing out in the way that they are based on soul, our own soul story, our own soul's timeline. And that is what astrology maps, that we each actually are born at a particular time. We have a birth chart to be able to look to as the map, as the code, as the guide, and literally see our own very particular, very specific timeline of throughout our entire life. There is a scope of when, and very particular themes for each person of when basically leaps in consciousness occur, like the Saturn returns, like the Uranus oppositions, like the nodal returns. And there are many. There are dozens on a collective level that we each share at the same time. Like everyone has the Saturn return at 2930, everyone has the Uranus opposition in the early 40s. And then we are each always having very specific alignments where the cosmos themselves, the planets, come into positions with each other and with our Earth that activate our birth chart. They come into degrees that our particular planets hold that same degree or that same position in some way that we get activated. We feel the pulse of the cosmos in certain ways. And of course, like every day is a different day. Every day is a different day and the energetics change. And so we all know we feel triggered and we feel different and we have, you know, just like the emotional experience that we move through. It changes and it's shifty. And that's a reflection, right? That's the as above, so below. That's the mirror experience that is happening, that we are in a cosmic system that is always in motion, right? When we think about like flowing, being in the flow, um, there's always movement, there's always shifting of energy and frequency. And so the waves of frequency that we feel are changing. And so that brings me into, the major focus of my work is that we move through this timeline and we move through variations of themes and stages in our own life. And essentially, we move through our own rites of passage, our own growth process, how we are evolving in consciousness through our own journey. And so it takes time. We know that too. Like we move through our own awareness and we come into greater awareness, and then we have more to work with, and then we take action. And all of these things sort of push the bar a little bit until we find ourselves and recognize ourselves in change in different experiences, right? So we have constantly and consistently these confrontations with the transitional nature of life and the transitional nature of our own awareness and identities, right? So the identity evolution processes that some of us are very aware of it and work in the processes, doing the personal growth and development journey and all of this. And others aren't so much aware or paying attention, but the process is always happening, right? This journey of growth from one generation to the next of our own lives. We change, we shift. And what is so fascinating and what astrology offers is that it's trackable. There's a map, right? And we'll never know the entirety of the mystery, which is great, right? We don't want to. But what astrology does is it gives us, it's just a window. We just get to see a little bit more and make sense of a little bit more. Because when you understand the language, when you can decipher the code, when you can understand what the symbols convey, when you understand the alignment, then you can understand that you are a part of that particular moment in time that is holding a certain energetic quality. And being a part of it, you then get to work consciously with it. And that essentially is the point of astrology, that when you know, you get to work with it. So it's never a fixed experience, right? That is a major misconception in the realm of astrology online, that it just is, right? Like you're a Virgo and therefore. And there's truth in it in a sense where yes, there's definable uh imprints of archetype signatures that we carry, right? We can define certain themes, like a Saturn return is going to be a time when someone grows up, when someone feels the pressure to evolve their maturity, their responsibility, their discipline, their devotion, their know-how of how to survive and be capable to be able to contribute in a valuable way on this planet. That impulse comes in very strong when Saturn is activating someone's chart, like on a Saturn return. Some people are born with a strong Saturn energy, and we can observe it. We can be like, that person's very Saturn. Check them out, like the Capricorns, like they hold that frequency. They work through it. They live it. They live it out. They live it through because it's a part of the makeup. It's a part of the signature. It's a part of the moment, the momentary signature of energy that they were born into. And because we are these receptive, energetic beings, we are impressed upon, we can say, at birth by the moment, right? This like divine portal moment that we come through. And it's like, I think about like hold the baby up and it's like, look, this baby represents now, the signature of now. But honestly, what's so fascinating about a birth chart and about a baby, about all of us, is that it's not just now. It's because as cycles go, it's not just that we're in this moment and it's like an isolated moment. It's actually when we look at a chart, every single planet is going to represent a cycle that is underway. So, when we think about a baby, there was the whole 9 months in the womb. There was the moment of conception. That itself was like a snapshot of the alignments that were happening at that time. And then movement kept happening and the cycles kept changing and the cycles kept changing until the moment of birth. So that is what is always happening and what is moving through us at all times. So when we start to feel like, oh, the things are intense, or this full moon was intense, or my life is like, or like, 2020. which we all went through, but just for the sake of an example, like if we think, oh, November of 2023 was like, that was a lot was going on in my life. And then we look back and we see, oh, this particular alignment. And yes, what was going on in my life does reflect this symbolic definition of what that is. And that's how it works. And essentially, astrology is always accurate. It is just 100% accurate. What's not accurate is people's interpretation of the symbols because it is a symbolic language, right? It is an esoteric, occult language and system. It is symbolic. It's of the energetic, psychic realms. It's consciousness, right? It is about interpreting consciousness, the energetic frequencies that our psyche are carrying. And also how we move as a collective consciousness, right? Like we are all universally affected by this collective energy, whatever time we're in. So the 1960s were very different. There was a collective energy, which also shifted based on which part of the world you lived in, which part of the culture, which part of the environment, right? So there's all these conditions. There is the immediate, personal, the environment of ourself, our own mind, our own emotions, the world that we create, our inner world. Then there's the environment of our home and our family and our community and our culture. And it just keeps getting wider, right? Then there is the cosmic environment. There's the universal. And we're a part of it all. And that's personally what I love about astrology, that when you study astrology, it is this art form that allows us to be in the expansiveness of consciousness just by tuning in and tapping into it, because it's immediately bringing us out into the bigger picture and into the cosmic field. But in essence, we are all always part of the cosmic field, of the planetary field, what's going on with the planets and the energies and how the planets are in relationship with each other and with our Earth. And we are the humans of this planet. And so we are affected by the dance of the cosmos that we ourselves are moving throughout within. So this is the glory of astrology. So I want to walk us through this cycle and map out from week to week so that you too can anchor in. And this is pretty much how I have lived my life using astrology in this way for over 25 years. And the value is just incredible to be able to utilize the tool in this way, and especially if you are able to refer it up against your own chart. So let's drop in. So first, the first gateway where we are now is the gate of the new moon. So if you allow yourself to tap into that, which many of you, of course, already are, understanding that a new moon is a new cycle, and we get to align with what that means symbolically, energetically. What is a new cycle represent? Because the point of all this too is to get intentional, get conscious about reality, get present about what is actually available to us, right? There is so much more meaningful capacity that we have to tap into within our own beingness and to resolve the, thousands of years of repression and suppression, particularly of the what we would call the feminine arts, like the all things psychic and intuitive and receptive and the perceptive arts, to have perception and to get it, to feel the vibe, right? To read the room, to be able to know, to have insight because one pays attention, because we are present with where we are and we are intentional about how we're orienting, where we're actually oriented in time and space. And that is a very interesting thing to ponder because our minds are so powerful that we can literally we can be anywhere, right? And we can create all kinds of worlds with our mind of where we be in a particular moment. So when we get intentional and really on the shamanic level, we understand that we have power, we have creative power of the world that we create in our own mind and in our bodies, and then what we do with it, how we walk through. So, in this new moon, we're at this new moon gateway. So, you might be feeling this. And my suggestion and my work always is about dropping into the actual what is happening, So, the lunar cycle is amazing to follow as far as um, mapping out each one of the lunar phases and getting to see the reflection. In the same way that if you were mapping out a Saturn cycle or in your Saturn return, you could know when is it coming, for how long is it going to be powerfully activating, what part of my psyche and what part of my personal growth story is it going to be working on? When is it going to be complete, we could say? When do I move to the other side of it? What is the exact timing? And when do I move on? And the moving on from a Saturn return is never like, oh, it's over, you're done. Like, go, just go on with your life, forget about it. That isn't how it works. It's like Saturn continues now, like a seed was planted, and then Saturn, from the Saturn return, the planting of the new seed time, the the dis the dissolving of what is needing to be let go of, and then the planting of a new seed that happens during that 2-year portal. And then the person carries that new consciousness forward from one stage to another stage to another stage. So Saturn is a 7-year cycle. So at the 7-year point after the Saturn return, that's the first quarter square. That's like the first half moon that we see in the sky. And that is going to be a pivotal moment of correction or adjustment based on what that seed planted. And then there'll be a full moon time or a full phase opposition at the 7 years later, 14 years later, right? So we all know at age 14, people go through a big shift, right? The puberty time, those years. So this is how we track cycles. So the new moon or the lunar cycle is representing the bigger planetary cycles. Each one is defined by the same cyclical process, which essentially can be divided into 4 corners. And then even further, when you understand the aspect wheel of sextiles and trines and all of the different portal moments or gateway moments that we walk through in our own timeline, through our own psychological, emotional, spiritual growth that we move through, how we evolve in consciousness through our life. So, grounding into the new moon time, we have started a new cycle. We've ended a cycle. So you want to recall, what did you just move through over this past month? What came up? What confrontations, what challenges? We have been in a challenging cycle with Chiron as a really powerful influence during this May cycle. And there have been squares, quite a few, and we're still in it. We're in a more challenging cycle, we could say, over a period of about 6 weeks. And we're about midway into that, where squares are happening, Chiron contact points are happening. And so stuff is coming up from our own psyche, from our own unconscious, subconscious realms to be addressed. And so sometimes we have what it takes, and sometimes we don't. And it can be overwhelming. And so we're just moving through it. And then life delivers and confronts, and we deal. And it comes down to, how are we dealing? How well are we dealing? What is the level of capacity, right? And so we get these moments and we get to recognize, we get to see where we are in the scope of our growth, where we are in the scope of what we're trying to attain or create or experience in our life. And then we get to sort of assess and see, like, okay, what am I going to do now? What do I need to do now? What do I want to do now? And this is just always, ebbing and flowing through our life. But I will say right now, we are in a powerful moment where many, many people are feeling it, are feeling, I need change. like radical transformation, like something's got to go, something's got to shift. This is not sustainable. It can't keep going on like this because this particular new moon, the sun and moon came together at the end of Taurus, and Mercury was right there with them. So a conjunction to Mercury, just a couple degrees away from Uranus in the next sign of Gemini. So we have had the Mercury, Uranus, sun and moon conjunction at this new moon. So Mercury and Uranus, for one, Uranus is transformation, always radical, sometimes out of the blue, unexpected change. So just look and see in your life if you feel that, if you're detecting that, if you're experiencing that, that yes, I wasn't expecting, this sort of like disruptive change. Like I was going about my path for the past month or for the past 2 weeks, and now it's like pivot. Uranus is like a major plot twist kind of energy. It's like, whoa, okay, can be abrupt, but it's on. And the thing is, we are in a powerful Uranus time, like era of life that is only going to continue for quite some time. It's not really, it's like in the foreseeable future. That's where we're at. But I will say for the past 4 years, or the next 4 years, Uranus is coming into a trine with Pluto, this exact alignment for many years out in from Gemini to Aquarius. And Gemini and Aquarius are both very fast, very heady, very about intelligence and the intellect and technology. And there is a fast-paced quality like the mind that happens with Gemini and Aquarius. So we've entered an era where things are definitely speeding up. Of course, we all feel it. It's like the age of information and technology on steroids. Like that's what it feels like. And there are going to be moments of reprieve, particularly the Taurus seasons and things like this that we'll have. But yeah, we're just part of it. We're part of this system that is in a major expansion moment and is speeding up. There is also, in contrast, contraction. We can feel that too, right? There's a lot of extreme like resistance of the things that really need to change coming up in society and people, right? So we're feeling this in our own lives. That's really where I want to stay focused in this call, that we are feeling in our own lives the tension points between how we want to change personally, what is needing to change, and the big shifts that you have been working towards essentially our whole life, our whole soul evolution that we've been going through has led to these times where these breakthroughs and these major confrontations we're all up against them. So we're in the new moon time. So this is a time to, one, be intentional and plant seeds. Set your goals, set your intentions for what you want to create during this cycle, this chapter of your life. And take action, take the steps, and watch how your garden grows. Watch how you're doing. And it's never about judging ourselves or just getting into spaces where we are, we are done with the self-attack times, right? We need to really move beyond where we are allowing ourselves to stagnate, like what was taught for centuries of time, being taught how to stagnate in repression and suppression ways of connecting with our own lives and our own self. Okay, so it's about witnessing. Where are you? So when we lay down a goal and we want to go for it, and then we find out after 7 days, after 14 days, that it was harder than I thought. I can't really do this. I'm not really um, doing what I said I was going to do. And so it's there that we can make adjustment and not go into this self-berating kind of thing. And that is where we get to witness and then work with expanding our own capacity to continue going forth. What do you need? What kind of support? What do you need to set up? What do you need to release from your life? And this is the process, right? So, new moon time, planting seeds. Also, we don't always have to like get intentional and make the goals and put that, we can just be. And so the new moon time is also this powerful portal time of knowing that we've entered the new cycle, that we are in the dark, unconscious phase where seeds are incubating under the soil from that which was created over the previous times through this last cycle. What did you do? What did you realize? What were the confrontations? How did you wake up? What wisdom have you cultivated? What actions did you take? And therefore, that is going to create what's going to happen in this cycle, right? From one cycle to the next. The seeds that are planted, the actions that are taken sprout. And so the new moon time is also a time where you might feel it come up through you, like the new ideas, the new direction, the impulse, the drive to be like, I want to get intentional right now. So that this is about also being ceremonial, creating the ritual around your own life, around your own growth, around your process, because being ceremonial, being creating ritual allows you to be in your creative power. It allows you to get present in the now and cultivate, to put forth your will, your soul, your heart into be the creator of your life. So the new moon portal is perfect, amazing, and for that. And so let's do that. And then we get to watch and see what happens. And so this week, we have some cool energies happening. We have Mercury is going to conjunct Uranus, which is already happening over the next couple of days. Mercury moved out of the end of Taurus and into the first degrees of Uranus. And that just Mercury is the mind and Uranus is the higher mind. And so when two planets come together and they like merge their energies, what pops out? What pops off in the energetic field. And therefore, when we're feeling it, we ourselves are getting activated in certain ways. So this is a very hyper mental energy where we are feeling a shiftiness around our perspective, our orientation, our truth, our values. It's changing. We're being called to like, now that you've done this, now that you have arrived to this point, where are you going to go with what you know now? What are you going to do with it? So we can see how that this evoking of change is up with these kind of energies. So that is a big theme that's going to play out throughout this entire cycle. New insights, new ideas, new desires as far as where, like location, where you want to be, who you want to be around, what you want to be doing, how you are identifying in the value systems and all of this. It's quite powerful because also Mercury this week is going to square the nodes. And later, around the last quarter of the month, Uranus is going to square the nodes. And also, in the second week of this month, the sun is going to square the nodes, all from Gemini. So Mercury and Gemini squaring the nodes in the moon's nodes, the north and south nodes of the moon. So Mercury in Gemini is going to square the north and south node of the moon. The sun is going to square on the second week the north and south node of the moon. And then on the third week, Uranus is going to come into the square with the north and south node of the moon. So Mercury, Sun, Uranus, all in Gemini, squaring the past and the future, the south node of the moon and the north node of the moon, where, how, and what we are resolving of the past self, the past experiences, what we've come through, and how we're going to move forward. And this is a very evolutionary leap kind of energy, where these aha moments, where we can see that what we've been working through over time is we get to, reap some of the benefits, reap some of the rewards from, okay, finally it's go time. Finally, it's change time. Finally, I'm getting it. Maybe some questions that you've been asking or designing in your life or your creative projects over the past 6 months are going to come through like, now I know. Now I know what to do. And it's go time. It's time to shift. It's time to change. And it's not like it is necessarily easy because these are squares happening. And the squares bring in tensions around, okay, are you going to let the past go? Are you going to let the familiar go? Are you going to cultivate the courage to step into the unknown, to step into the where you know you need to go, but you know, do you have the resources? Do you feel like you can do it? Do you have the courage? Will you step in and go in the direction that is likely unfamiliar? It is the future, right? So that process that we go up against where we want change. We want to experience a different way of being, a different sense of self, a different self-concept, a different way of being in our identity. But we hold on until we do things like take leaps and take action towards the direction we want to go. So what I like about this week, the first week, so I want to map out from week to week. So week 1, new moon, Mercury crosses over Uranus and Gemini, a lot of activation in the mind happening, new ideas, new positioning. And then as we move through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, Venus comes to the moon at the end of Gemini. Venus moon energy happens once a month, and it's a very personal kind of energy. It's like we can moon Venus is the feminine, right? It's like the I want, I need. This is where I want to be. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday can be days that you can feel that and you can work with it and want to move yourself into a space where you get to do what you want. You get to take some time to be in, your heart's desire, the things that you really enjoy. And since it's the 29 Gemini point, we can tap in to that energetic in a way that, what is my soul trying to communicate to me? Where are like asking these questions, the answers to our questions? We can take some time to listen. That's what I feel like this is about, taking some time to listen and work with this powerful Gemini energy of information is being conveyed, right? We are tapping into realms of information that is quite powerful right now. So the ideas and the answers and just a lot of creative perspective can be coming through right now. And then Venus will move into Cancer. And at the same time, around the 19th, Mars will move out of Aries and into Taurus. And this is really powerful, and I'll tell why in a minute. And then on the 20th, we have the moon coming to Jupiter in Cancer, which is Jupiter in Cancer is this. Cancer is very personal. This is what I need. This is what I feel to feel safe and comfortable and secure and happy. And so moon coming to activate it as we are moving through and through the new moon cycle. It's like, I do believe we're going to be we are feeling right now in this week an energy towards, I need to make some changes that are more supportive to me. And that doesn't mean including others and the collective, but it's very personal around, yes, I'm feeling it. This is not sustainable and I need to make some changes. And so as we then come into week 2 with the first quarter moon on May 23rd. The first quarter moon is happening in Virgo. And the first quarter moon, that next gateway from the gateway of the new moon, we move to the next gateway of the lunar cycle into the first quarter moon gateway. And that's a square between the moon and the sun. So they come into the square alignment, and it's a crossroads point, the midpoint between the new moon and what will be the full moon 1 week later. So that midpoint moment is a critical energetic where you can feel your own inner conflict of, am I going to get pulled back into the past, or am I going to keep going forward into the vision, into the intention, right? Because we are the visionaries. We are the visionary souls who are dreaming in the new worlds, dreaming in our intentions, what we want to make manifest from out of the core desire realms, right? And so that first quarter moon is an activation point. So on May 23rd, we enter, and it's in Virgo, and it happens to align with the south node of the moon. So there's a very karmic energy that we can read from that, that there is this karmic quality of south node past. What are you letting go of? What do you need to let go of? And again, it may not be easy. That is the challenge of the moment, that where have you arrived to where you know you need to go and want to go forward into the future, into the destiny, and yet there is something that is possibly still there, still lingering, holding you back, holding you down, and in perceived ways. And so it can feel like Virgo always, Virgo is such a powerful energy of needing to make things better and come to a state of wholeness and purity, real pure intention, and to not be in any kind of toxicity or anything that might ruin the quality of self or experience or environment. And so Virgo can bring up in this particular alignment with the South Node energetics around, like, where we confront our lack of self-worth, our self-esteem, fall into patterns of smaller self, like I will stay smaller, or I will limit myself in some way, maybe because we don't feel capable, or circumstance and situation, right? So that is possibly a bigger challenge that we may confront. There has also been a powerful Lucifer energy with the asteroid Lucifer playing out also in Virgo during this time. And so a lot of people with the Chiron energy as well, we have been navigating deeper portals of our own wound, of our own sense of self-suffering or inadequacy or not enough. And so that has also been a current theme that is still, working its way through. And one of the most powerful alignments of the time of this year in 2026 is going to happen on week 2, around May 25th, where Mars comes into its first quarter square with Pluto. And so Mars came into conjunction with Pluto at the end of January. And so many of you may be able to recall, if you think back, a lot of tension, a lot of powerful confrontation and things we were moving through at the end of January into March, where we needed to let go. We needed to break through. We needed to get to the other side of some holding patterns that had been long underway, particularly throughout all of 2025. And that's why when we started to come into the new year, it didn't quite feel like a new year yet. We lingered in the past of the 2025 energy through into like March. March was some alignments that really started to break us free from the 2025 zone. So January, February was that Pluto conjunct, Mars conjunct Pluto energy, and all of the inner planets conjuncted Pluto one after the other in January. Then Mars came and concluded that, and it was a reset. It was a new phase conjunction after the closure of a long time cycle. And that propelled us into what now? Where are you going now? And now we've reached the first quarter square between Mars and Pluto from Taurus to Aquarius. And so this is a powerful tension point. So week 2 of this cycle from May 23rd for that 7 days, we are in Mars is a powerful catalyst for, it's a force of action for the personal will and identity and independence. And what are you doing? How are you doing it? And how are you going to get there to individualize your life? That's Mars. So Mars coming into Pluto is amplifying that energy. That first quarter square is a ask. It's a call to, yes, the challenges are real. We're all feeling them. We are in an extreme time in the creation of life. And here is a moment. Here is a gateway. Mars, first quarter square with Pluto, of do your best. Do what you can to break free onto the other side. Do what you can to break free from what of the past, what of yourself you can release, put down, liberate yourself. And as always, any of these alignments happening up against anything personal, any personal planets in your own chart, it's going to, tell more to the storyline of what you're actually going through. And also, all of these alignments are going to fall in a particular house for you, whether they're activating planets in your chart or not. They will be in a particular house, which is going to give you more information about what part of your life is actually being activated by these alignments. And so week 3 now brings us into the full moon. And so we have a wonderful full moon in Sagittarius. So opposite the sun in Gemini time that we are entering. And then the full moon is going to be at 9 degrees Sagittarius, which happens to be my moon. My moon is 9 degrees Sagittarius. So I'm excited about this. And also Lilith is in Sagittarius. So we're having a full moon in alignment with Lilith. So I'm just thinking of this like tea time with Lilith experience that I am definitely going to create for myself, because I have Lilith also on my south node of the moon. So I'm just feeling into this quality of Lilith. And Lilith is like, I look at her like the feminine uh, aspect of the Uranus principle. Lilith is the rebel goddess, the revolutionary, the one who is individualizing her life, living her values, living her truth, unapologetically, unashamed, and breaking free from um, the exile that has happened, and breaking free from the conditioning of to be less than we are, less than we have the creative potential to be, because we are who we are in this moment, but we're in this ever evolving experience of becoming, and we get to change, and we get to express differently in however way that we choose. But that's not always accepted, and that's not always the condition. And so Lilith is the antidote to that suppression, repression, conditioning of personal self and creative expression. She is like, no, I stand for myself. I will exile myself from the Garden of Eden to keep my essence intact, to keep my creative expression free. And so that is the full moon in Sagittarius. I'm looking at it like this wild truth in the light. So you can tap into that energy. A full moon always brings into the light, brings clarity to what is, brings up to the surface out of our own consciousness, right? Because the moon is, we know that the moon pulls at the tides. And that is what's happening. Not just the moon, but all of the planets are pulling at the tides of our own psyche, our own consciousness. So it is this push-pull experience, right? It is a dance where we are feeling we're feeling the effects from the movement of these literal massive planets, these living consciousness, right? They are moving in space. They are in motion. There is life force there happening. And yeah, it's in relationship with our own planet that is alive, Mother Earth, alive in motion and movement with our moon. And so this whole thing, and we are these like containers and these receivers, these conduits of the energy. It all moves through us. And so, we get to be aware, we get to tune in, and we get to work with all this. And sometimes we feel the overwhelm, right? Like we feel the waves of energy. Sometimes we feel like pulled under from the currents. That can be a lot, depending on what's happening and what's going on in our own charts too. Yes, so this full moon week, really, really powerful. There's a lot of pressure to break through with the Mars square Pluto into the truth, into the true path, the vision that you want to take, right? Sagittarius are the visionaries. It is the archetype of the I see what's on the horizon and I go forth. I go into the possibility and the potential. And so that is a quality that I really appreciate about this month because we have been going through it for quite some months. And there's still this tension area that is playing out as we move through these weeks. But this full moon in Sagittarius, it can feel big. So my suggestion is to go easy with yourself. But if you are feeling the challenges and the confrontations and the like, it gets hard energy that the full moon can, Sagittarius makes things bigger, amplifies. Like, so get yourself in your right place, right? It's always about how we are nurturing and taking care of ourselves, of our well-being. And so, yes, of course, we can get off, we can get thrown off, we can go far in directions where we are not in the healthiest state of being. And that is the work. So we need to get right and get well with ourselves, to be able to, yeah, work with the energies that come through. So, and then what happens after the full moon, before the last quarter moon, is when the north and south node, because they are moving faster than Uranus, so they come to the 2 degrees of Virgo Pisces, where they will be leaving soon and going into Aquarius Leo. So that's a big shift that's going to happen in July with our eclipses changing signs. But before that, the North and South Node are getting there and they're coming to 2 degrees of Virgo Pisces, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. And so they lock into where Uranus is at 2 degrees of Gemini. So then we have the square, it's like a triangle, 2 points, and then the 1 point is Uranus squaring the North and South Node of the moon. So again, remember this revolutionary, groundbreaker, shapeshifter, very shifty energy. But the thing about Uranus also, it's so powerful. It is the awakener, it's the higher mind, it's the channel, it's the aha moment of now that I know, now that I've tapped in to another level or layer of truth, of consciousness of what is, because we're evolving, right? We don't know. We don't know all things, and we don't know a lot of things in our own life. Like, where am I going? How do I do this? What do I need? What's going to come through? Like, we don't know. But then we have awakenings, and then it's like, oh, now I know. Now I see more. And that's this Uranus energy. So that coming into alignment like this right after the full moon with the north and south node of the moon, that is a powerful revolutionary energy of breaking free from the past, also being able to harness something from the past to take the treasures of all that was learned and developed and accumulated on the journey that is worthy, that is valuable, taking it. So laying down, releasing and letting go, and then taking forward the treasures, the reclamation, that's also a part of the energy, being able to claim aspects of self via potentially the liberation. Like, I'm I'm tired of this or being this or doing this. And yeah, I'm stepping in. I'm stepping into the next level of self or the liberation of self or, uh, you know, other aspects of identity and all the ways that we ourselves like shape shift our reality based on, our desires. It always comes down to the core desire, like how we desire to live or not live, to be or not be. And so we're tapped into this essence, this soul essence. And of course, we know that desires can be like come from ego, like the ego desire for whatever it is, recognition or fame, that it can be an ego thing, or also it can be a very deep soul desire, right? And that's part of the journey that we do, that we get to, like, are we in ego? And this is why we want this, and this is why we do this. And I'm talking, obviously, I have a lot of respect for the mechanism of ego. Like, healthy ego is necessary as far as like getting to live through an identity, a self-image kind of, and of course we can say they're constructs, whatnot. Yes, and it's all part of the mechanism, right? Like we have hair, we have body, we have like image, we have identity, and that it moves us through our own self-awareness and self-experiencing journey to realize what's beneath it all, which is soul, right? The spirit of us in relationship with the spirit of creation. And so Uranus square the north and south node of the moon after the full moon is very powerful. And that happens around June 7th. And then we have week 4, which is the last quarter moon. And during that cycle, one of the major aspects that happens is Venus conjuncts Jupiter at 25 degrees of Cancer, because remember at the beginning on week 1, around May 19th, Venus moves into Cancer. And so at the end of the cycle on week 4, Venus comes to Jupiter at 25 Cancer. And so I just want you to make note of that day. June 9th can be a powerful day of alignment with Venus, Jupiter. It's these auspicious qualities, right? If you feel into it, Venus, sense of self and love and personal desire mixed with this expansive quality, the seeker of truth, the alignment towards abundance and fulfilling the journey, fulfilling the truth. So there is a quality of abundance, potentially harmony in the realm of self-care, self-nurturing, harmony in relationships that, of course, we need to cultivate. So it's not always going to present like that. There is a spectrum, there's a pendulum that swings within all archetypes, right? Where, Venus, Jupiter can be, it can be excessive selfishness or gluttony or, these kind of things too. So it's like we work with what's coming through, and then you witness like where you are in the energetic frequency of these signatures as you can experience them. So then we can look deeper into your own personal chart and see like where are they activating in that way. So we have the gateway of the new moon, then we have the gate of the first quarter moon, then we have the gate of the full moon, and then we have the gate of the last quarter moon, which is the half moon in the sky. And then right before the next new moon, we'll have the gateway of the dark moon. So those are the 5 primary phases of the moon that I spend a lot of focus on and talking about. And of course, there are the in-between phases as well of the moon and of any planetary cycle that you're looking at. Like Saturn goes in 7-year stages through each. So if you work with this cycle wisdom and you work with mapping and tracking where you are oriented to the cosmic flow, to the way that the cosmos and the universal dance is happening, then you can see how it is reflected in your own life, how the you see the potency and the power of where you are happening around you, and you can work with it. And then you can look at it in your own chart and see, yes, I do see that this is activating this particular area of my life, and you can work with it. So that's the power of mapping and tracking with astrology as we do. And so the new moon is the new seed. Plant intentions, watch what new things are coming up in your life. Pay attention, like, yes, this is happening. This is new. This is a new experience that I've now entered into the cycle of. Where is it going to play out? Some things that come through that pop up new will have their time throughout this cycle and be complete. And some things will journey on, like we meet someone new and then it becomes a friend, right? Or we end a relationship and then it clears out in this cycle and it doesn't get carried into the new cycle. So we're always having this experience of like, what is leaving the cycle? What is birthing through a particular cycle? And then what is getting carried forward? And so that is what can be tracked in your own life. And actually, that's how we can use astrology to time our life, time our events to, and track, in these 30, 60, 90 portals of time that we all move through and exist through, how we are in this evolutionary journey of growth, this developmental process through time. And when we understand that, it allows us to be solid and present in the game of life, in the long game that is life, it allows us not to give up on what it is we're creating in the unseen realms that has not yet presented in reality yet, where we don't yet see the evidence, right? And so that's what we can start to reflect upon when you learn to follow cycles in this way, that what's coming through now is going to evolve. It's going to grow in the garden of your life. And on the deeper levels of psyche and what you're moving through, as far as the shadow realms and your own identity that you are working with evolving, we can track the evolution of psyche itself, right? Because things take time, we take time to evolve. Our identity takes time to shift. And so we can see, like, oh, I'm still holding this shadow. I'm still holding this fear. I'm still in this sort of identification with life and my experience in myself through this cycle. And then the next cycle, and then the next cycle. But we do start to see that, like, oh, it's starting to loosen its hold on me, loosen its grip, or like I've been working with this new model of being, this new way of being for so long now. Like exercise, right? When we exercise, it takes time, and then we start seeing the benefits over time, or anything we possibly do, right? Like goal journeying, when it's like, I'm going to write every week, 3 times a week, and it's going to develop a library of something, right, over time. And so it's not here yet, and it's not here yet, but then it will be. So this kind of magic that comes through with doing this kind of cycle work and tracking and mapping. And so then we have the first quarter square, which is that juncture point, the in between the new and the full moon, where we get to make adjustments. How much are you being pulled into the past? What do you need to do to stay on track and go forward? Because we get tested. We get tested by our own willpower, our own sense of self. And it can come up like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I shouldn't have intended to do this. Maybe this is harder than I have the capacity for. Maybe, and we doubt, and we can get pulled into um pulled into all kinds of places, right? So when you track like this, it can also give a sense of faith and hope. Like, this is one of the biggest things that I have recognized with my long-time journey of almost 3 decades now of this daily practice of being an astrologer and tracking, is that I know that every single gateway, there will be a shift in my psyche, in my consciousness, and therefore my life. And so I don't worry very much at all about, like, I very much live by this too will pass. And likely, whatever this is, and not always, some things are bigger, like health problems, relationships, money issues, whatnot. Sometimes it takes, cycles upon cycles. But what I'm saying is that when there's some kind of tension, some kind of unknown, when am I going to figure this out? When am I going to like feel the breakthrough or something different? I always know that it's going to happen on the next gateway, if not the next gateway, right? Like, because these are portal moments, these are activating energetic um, environments that we enter, right? The gateway experience. So the first quarter moon is this opportunity to experience this midpoint moment of tension between the past and the future, between the new seed and the full moon fruition moment. So then it can be like, oh, yes, I do see what I just planted or what I intended a week ago is feeling a bit challenged right now. Or maybe not. Maybe it's like, yes, look how well I've accomplished in these past 7 days this thing. And now I'm just going. I'm just like, the garden is going off because I am tending to it. I have full strength, whatever it is, all the resources that we need and cultivate in ourselves. And then the full moon reveals, it shows the bounty, like the cornucopia, the experience has come through. Look what you created. But sometimes it's like, I've been sick for 2 weeks. Now the full moon is like, I'm a little behind. Like life reveals itself. So the full moon is that next gateway where, like I said, when the full moon is coming, I know there is going to be a increase, a peak of development of whatever has been developing, growing, living, coming through the unknown realms, the unconscious realms into our lives, into our awareness over those waxing 2 week time frame. And then the full moon brings it into this like, okay, and then, the day before the new moon, things can peak out. The day of the full, I meant the full moon, the day before the full moon, things can peak out. The day of the full moon, things peak out. Then the day after the full moon, there is a break in energy. It's the full moon came to its peak moment, literally to the degree, to the moment in time. And then it went, so the alignment of equal opposition between sun and moon with the earth exactly in between that perfect alignment that is a full moon. Then that full moon clicks over and breaks free from that full moon moment. And we've entered a whole nother realm. We've left the gateway of the full moon, and you can feel that energetic as well. And then it starts moving towards the last quarter square. And that's a whole nother gateway moment where we get to see, now that I see everything that just came through these past 3 weeks, what now? How am I going to take this wisdom and get ready for the new cycle? What am I going to actually let go of that is no longer going to come into my new cycle? And that's what the last week of the cycle represents or offers us. And so you can see, and then the dark moon is the fifth of the potent phases. And that is a time of liberation. It's the ultimate yin, the most feminine quality of the entire month, where we are asked, we are called to return to the absolute darkness and stillness and allow experience to metabolize and we are asked, we are called to surrender into all that is, all that was, so that we can get the garden again ready for, it's like the compost phase, get it ready for the next new yang waxing time of creation, right? So this ebb and flow, and it's so, so beautiful. So that's all for this cycle. And I will keep us updated throughout. You can join me on Substack. You can join me inside my private free community, The Hidden Temple. Reach out to me and connect if you would like to. I'm also on Instagram, and I am always doing regular updates also inside my school. If you want to come in and learn how to read all of these transits and cycles and movements of this incredible epic time that we are a part of, if you want to come in and learn how to read it in your chart, I am teaching shamanic evolutionary astrology in a very real and sincere mystery school environment, where we are very much focused on soul astrology and the evolution of consciousness through time, and particularly on a personal level, where you get to see how your chart is evolving through time, your personal soul timeline throughout life. And the way that I am teaching astrology is quite different. It's very much of the lineage of evolutionary astrology with a very shamanic perspective in it, that how we are, nothing is an isolated event. We are never just in this like, oh, this is what's happening and this means this, or you're carrying this archetype, pattern, signature, and this means this. It's always based on the reflection of the core soul intention and orientation that you yourself feel that you are in, and how each one of the planets in your chart directly represents your core soul intention that you have come in, incarnated in this life, particularly to work through, because we all feel that. We all feel our destiny. We all feel that we have a very special and particular soul orientation, which we can also call soul purpose. Not everybody relates to themselves or desires this sort of idea of purpose, but we can all feel that we are who we are and we love to be where we want to be, whether it's home or at work or with animals or in the ocean or whatever it is that is your thing, right? We all have this thing, which is the soul orientation, the soul intention of this is what I like, this is what I desire, this is my purpose, and this is also my destiny. And that really shows us, like when we look at the north node of the moon and the Pluto points, where I know I feel this is what I want to do. I know I feel this is where I want to go. And that is not always the easiest thing, right? Like our destiny, our future, that which pulls us our desires. We don't, they are the challenge often, right? And so we can see in our charts too where it is that we are deliberately coming with an intention to go there, to evolve the fear and the insecurity and to resolve that which holds us back and to actually walk into the path of bliss, right? The path that we truly, truly feel is ours. And so that's what we're doing inside the spaces. So wishing you all well, take care, and I'll see you soon.